We now have our last speaker, and scheduled speaker. That is Dr. Emmanuel Ndahayo, who will be talking to us about African diaspora and Pan-Africanism. Dr. Ndahayo, let me unmute you, and then so that you can just hold on 1 second. Okay. You can unmute yourself now, Dr. Ndahayo. Good.
Thank you, Honorable SG. Dear brothers and sisters, I'm happy to be here with you in this conference and to talk about Pan-Africanism and diaspora. I'm happy that Prof. Apollos talked about the origin of Pan-Africanism and tried also to place it in the global political context and to say something also about the stage of the history in which many people from Africa played or have played a big role. It was interesting to hear that the Pan-Africanism, even if the origin was not clear, but it was interesting to hear that there are strong indications saying that the Pan-Africanism has emerged in out of the continent abroad, so in diaspora milieus. Pan-Africanism has played, as also said by Prof. Apollos, a great role in advancing and supporting African and Black conditions in modern history on the continent, but also out of the continent. The Pan-Africanism ideas have contributed to the emancipation of Black people. In many societies, Black people became free citizens. However, we know that in many regards that African people or Black people are not treated or seen as such. Pan-African ideas contributed to the formal decolonization and to the formal independences of African countries, but we know that many African countries are just only formal decolonized, but they are still under a kind of colonization, and that their independence is not really that they are not so independent as it is written on the papers or in the books. The Africanism today is symbolized as Prof. Apollos said, by the African Union, which is also which comes from the organization of the African Unity, and which is also have been set by some African let us say founding fathers of independence of Africans, but also by other generations of Pan-Africanists. I would like to say something about priorities or about the objectives and the principles of the African Union as a symbol, as an emblematic symbol of the Pan-Africanism, with its history, with its vision, but also with weaknesses and challenges. To the objectives and the principles of the African Union as a symbol of the Pan-Africanism is the unity and solidarity among African countries. There is also as objectives the defense of the integrity and sovereignty of the African countries. There is also as objective the acceleration of the political and socio-economic integration of the continent and of the scientific and technological research. There are also as objectives the international promotion of common African position and the harmonization and coordination of regional and economic policies. As principles, there is equality between the member states, respect of borders, peaceful resolution of conflicts, condemnation of unconstitutional change of government, and the right of member states to request union intervention to restore peace and security if they are not there. The question now, so the African Union, of course, has also organs, the Commission, the Pan-African Parliament, and the Court of Justice. But the question now is if the African Union is reaching its objectives and if it is respecting its own principles. What we see now is that the African Union, which symbolizes now the Pan-Africanism, remains powerless in the face of the divisions and challenges of the continent or on the continent. It remains powerless and important in the face of its objectives and principles. It is facing the following enormous challenges that I tried to regroup into four groups. The first challenge, big challenge, is the economic one. We know that there is impoverishment of African people as a result of the legacy of the colonialism, the Cold War, and the global inequalities existing in the international economic and financial system. We know that there are figures and statistics that are often falsified and embellished to say that African countries are developing economically, but we know that this is in the contradiction with to the socio-economic situation of the African people. We know that in several African countries that the existing wealth is in the hand of tiny minorities who monopolize it. The second challenge is the governance. Tiny minorities establish dictatorial regimes, manipulate the constitutions of their countries, and manipulate elections to stay in power and to protect their own interests. Another challenge, big challenge, is security. With the rampant poverty and bad governance, we have automatically the insecurity. The insecurity, therefore, is becoming more and more widespread on the whole continent. Another challenge, the fourth one, is the migration. Many Africans, especially young people, under the influence of the dictatorship and the disgusting governance systems, seeing no future in their countries where human dignity has no meaning, decide massively to leave their countries with the risk of dying in the Sahara Desert or in the Mediterranean Sea. Alongside the importance of the emblematic symbol of Pan-Africanism, importance of the African Union and its members, the voice of African people are expressed and advanced by activists emerging in several corners of African, but also in the diaspora. The emerging voices with the Pan-African ideas use the new means of communication and information. They try to mobilize African people against global injustice, neocolonialism, and the complicity of a small African elite who contribute to the exploitation of African resources. In this situation, various foreign powers want to take advantage of this impotence of the African Union and its members, which are incapable of responding to the challenges mentioned above. So the question now is, what can we do as diaspora? Africa has not yet managed to have its own position. In the current moment of the global conflicts between powers, Africa should consolidate its independence and impose itself as a power. Africans, especially the leaders, should learn to seek legitimacy from their people, not from foreign powers, but from their own people. This is the first step, and the diaspora should immensely contribute to that. The diaspora should contribute to more than ever to good governance and democracy in African countries. Only democratic leaders, not those who manipulate constitutions and elections, can represent correctly the voices of the African people and make them heard globally. Not only, so the diaspora should not only criticize the neocolonialism and global inequalities, it should try to contribute to the solution to the existing inequalities and also to the existing, let us say, neocolonialism. We should try to bring new ideas and a proposal on eliminating the inequalities. The diaspora should contribute to the development of new relationships between Africa and the various actors of the international community. The diaspora should contribute immensely to a debate aiming at allowing Africa to return to the center of the architecture of this world, not as a continent of problems, but as a continent of solutions, not as beggars, but as actor, making it a respectful and avoidable partner in the global issues. Dear brothers and sisters, so I could say much more what we could about what we could do as we should do as a diaspora, but I come here, I stop here my presentation, and I thank you for your attention, and also happy to have an exchange with you about the ideas I expressed. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ndahayo, for that take on what the issues facing Africa, facing AU, and also the question as to what should diasporans do.